Hi, everybody. Welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Tommy, and tonight I'm joined by Dayna.
Hello.
It's back to just the two of us. Um, we're returning to Dawson's Creek with season 3. Um, Dayna has some strong opinions, I believe, so we'll roll the
Thank
credits
you.
and we'll get ready. So I should know, because this might give a little bit of context to why things feel so different. There was a new showrunner in season 3.
Mm-hmm.
So Kevin Williamson is gone.
Mm.
He does, however, come back to write the series finale.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it'll feel interesting.
Yeah. It is interesting because then he kind of has to meld his vision to how the show
Yeah,
evolves into how the show evolves. So it
yeah,
is
yeah.
interesting.
It felt different. Like the just even from the jump, I was like, not to say that the theme song really threw me off because we're watching it on Hulu
Yeah.
and I was like, what? This is
So
not. Oh,
yeah, it grows on you, and then you kind of
does
forget.
it?
Yeah, it does. And then sometimes you'll catch
Like,
yourself singing it.
I just kind of went, what is
Yeah.
this? Seriously? Like, this is not a song. This is not it. I don't associate what I don't know what the song is. Like, it was a real, like, it threw me because, it opens with, right into the show without it, and then they cut into the theme song. So you're like whiplash.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the song I'm expecting to hear. Oh
Um,
God. And
but for some
little
viewers,
did
this Canadian specifically, this was their theme song, so this is all they knew.
I know for Canada. I feel bad for Canada now. Like, oh, it's bad enough we're below them. You know what I mean? Now we have
So
this subject.
were you so distracted by the song that you couldn't appreciate the new modeling, I guess, for the credits?
Also, yes, again, like the whole opening theme felt like, where are we? Because it doesn't feel like we're in Dawson's Creek, or like, did we transport to a new Dawson's Creek that's like a different dimension? Like that everybody looks the same, but definitely not the same. It felt very like, what? And also overall, like the episodes in general,
Uh-huh.
they definitely don't have the same feel. There's not this like innocence, I guess, that
Okay.
is always kind of over everything and from the beginning. Like it doesn't feel like we have that anymore. I think we kind of lost it, and it makes sense because of what happened at the end of season 2. Things kind of
Yeah.
imploded.
Well, Jack and Andy are in the credits now, officially.
I know. I saw her. I was like, yay!
So episode 1 is titled Like a Virgin. Dawson
They're
is on
calling back. Like, oh,
Dawson is coming home from spending the summer with his mother in Pittsburgh or Philly, one of the two, somewhere in Pennsylvania.
Billy,
Philly. Um,
Billy.
and he fell asleep and he's drooling and he's sitting next to a sexy blonde girl who strikes up conversation with him, played by Brittany
Mhm.
Danielle of Sweet Valley High and other things. Eric actually met her this weekend at a 90s con.
Oh, I bet you she looks exactly the same.
Pretty
Um,
much.
she is like quintessentially like the TV like guest star person
Hmm.
side thing. I saw her in so many things, and also in like movies of that time. She was just like
She was in White
she was
Chicks.
yes, she was of the late 90s, early 2000s vibe. She was
Yes.
one of the Y2K actresses that I
Yes.
remember.
Um, in real life is a twin because she and her twin sister were on Sweet Valley High
Yeah,
together. But I think
yeah.
she was the one that kind of pursued her acting career.
Mhm.
So yeah, love her. She's fun.
Yeah.
She becomes tied to the canvas a little bit more, but we won't find that out till later. She has a purpose.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
um, no, I mean like you'll find that out later, like in later episodes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like he's gonna be sticking around like after everything. I was kind of like, okay. So we're not just a blip in the season, like we're gonna be here for a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they have their little flirtation. Cuts to credits. You're angry. We're back.
It was more like, what is this?
It's the
I
first
was
day of
like,
school. Dawson and Joey are wrecked with nerves over seeing each other for the first time.
mhm,
I kind of had to take a minute to remember where we were, and because Joey's not working at the the ice house. But I was like,
mhm.
oh, that's right, it burned down. That's why she's not working there.
Yeah, I thought the same thing because she was still at the docks. So
Hmm.
I was like, wait, is she at the ice house? But then like she talked about how like it was her boss, and I was like, is her
Yeah,
sister her boss? And I was like,
her boss,
what?
her boss seems a little problematic.
Oh, very.
Yeah. Also, like, what time is she going to work if it's 8 o'clock in the morning and she's got to get to school? Like, what time do you get there? 6?
Maybe she's doing like, well, she's also a minor too, so like she can't actually be work legally cannot be working that many hours. Like maybe they're supposed to be doing like half shifts,
Oh,
but so maybe she could do like 3 hours and
okay.
maybe 3 hours. I don't know. It depends on my state, but she
Yeah,
could be working under the table too, so which doesn't
that's true.
really matter then.
Right.
Hmm.
Um, Pacey and Dawson talk about him seeing Joey. So Dawson's hair, it looked like they tried to give him bangs to cover his forehead to make him look younger, the way that it was styled. And because it was so distracting, I was like, why are they covering his forehead like that?
Well, they are getting into that era where emo is starting to peak its ugly head. So, like, swoosh bangs were totally the thing. But also, what's so funny is they do that, like, flip. Remember that flip thing guy did with
Yeah,
their
I did
hair? Like, it was
that.
like a little thing.
Yeah.
That and, like, the spikes,
Uh-huh.
like the frosted tips.
Uh-huh.
Like, that was, we're getting there. We're getting
We're
there.
getting
Like, so,
one of my favorites opening scenes is Jack and Jen like in the kitchen, like just like they have a routine because now they've been living together for a few months and they're having breakfast, they're pouring each other's coffee, and
I
Graham's just
love
like
it.
watching and she's like, how long have you guys been married?
I love them together. They are by far the best thing of these episodes. Totally.
Yeah.
Especially this one. This is
Yeah,
so good.
going forward, they're like my favorite like friendship, pretty
Mhm,
much. Um
for sure.
Because last year we were like teased with them, but Jen was going through some shit and like they didn't really hang out too much till like towards the end. So like going
Yeah.
forward, it's like cemented that they're like besties. Like you said,
And
girls and
it's nice.
gays, tales all the time.
Yeah, sure. um, eh, I love for this for Jen because she deserves it. The girl has been through it with a capital I and a capital T. She needs a solid friendship, and so does Jack.
Hmm.
They both, it's perfect.
She kind of has a new look too. Like last season, she cut her hair, and she had like
Mhm.
this weird mix of like grunge and like working. Like remember we
It
were like, why is she at a party, but she looks like she's like working in an office? Like she had like a weird like, office attire to go to the party.
They could not style Jen for the season 2 to save their lives.
Right.
That Michelle Williams was being drug fashion wise, but like I wish um it seems like they kind of maybe like found their footing on what they could do with her, but it kind of makes sense if you really think about it. There's always that awkward phase where you before you really find your style and you're like wearing some whack stuff like that just what was I thinking? So
Right.
that's what I'm writing it off as. That's what it was.
Well,
She's not
as far as the tops, I feel like all the girls were wearing these. It was like spaghetti straps, pretty much.
Yes, yes.
Um, Jen's kind of, I don't know, grunging it up a little bit with the crimped hair and like the combat boots.
Yep. Yeah, and the fishnets eventually.
Yeah.
I just definitely like I said, everybody's going through a little bit of metamorphosis. You
Hmm.
know, like it's kind of like showing us all where everybody's at. But there are scenes where she's like wearing this polo, like red polo, chat with jeans, just
Yeah.
straight up jeans, like a regular pair of jeans. So it's like, she's they don't know what to do with her because Michelle Williams has like a lot of like a normal sized body. She's not
Right.
just
Yeah.
and like they could just throw and like the Y2K fashion was all about like exposing your belly,
Yeah.
apparently. Like literally from top to bottom, your entire abs and then like just above your genitals. Like
Yep.
and then,
Low cut jeans.
ass. Yeah. Thing. So like whenever anyone was like not a size 00, like they kind of like, oh, let's just put all the stuff all over her, you know?
Yeah. So at the, Joey shows up to school late. There's an assembly. They have a new principal.
Mhm.
And so her and Dawson don't really speak. And then there's like
Mhm.
booths to sign up for extracurricular activities. And Dawson like starts to hyperventilate and he's like, I can't do it. I can't talk to her. Like, I just get me out of here. So Pacey's like, all right, I got an idea. I am going to take you to the one place Joey Potter will not look for you. And he takes him to a strip club.
How can you explain to me how two minors, juniors, so they have to be 16, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Max. 16
Uh-huh.
and a half, me just touching the tip of 17. How the fuck are they getting into a strip club? Can someone explain it to me? I don't understand. Like, what?
Yeah. We kind of talked about this with my so-called life. We're like, how did they get into the porn store? How did they get into the
There are irresponsible adults that live in Cape Side. We'll just say that. Like, that just let children into strip clubs. Children. They don't look like adults.
I'm gonna assume Pacey had a fake ID because he actually asked for a beer and he asked for a glass of milk for Dawson.
That was pretty fun. And
And
yeah, of course.
their server ends up
Mm.
being Eve in a wig. Yeah, Dawson doesn't recognize her face like right in front of him, even though it's a wig that she's wearing. um,
Oh,
so it's not until she
man.
removes the wig and exposes her short blonde hair that he's like, "Oh, that's
Oh
the
my
girl."
god, it's beautiful. It felt so heavy-handed. I don't know what it is about it's Eve, right? Her name's Eve. Is it
Eve, yeah,
really her name? Like
yeah,
I feel like her the way they had told her to play it or the way she's playing it feels like laying it on thick. Like just I'm so mysterious and beautiful, but I want to be in your face.
yeah.
Still mysterious. Like, well, it's like she's a vampire and she smelled the virgin on Dawson and
Right.
just went crazy. And she couldn't it just every little jib jab at Dawson never been have sex before. Like,
Um, so Joey goes home and Bessie's like asking like how it went. So Joey's like, "Oh, school was fine," and she's like, "Forget school." She's like, "How was it seeing Dawson?" Like Bessie wants to know all the details. So Joey lies
of
and makes
course.
up this whole dream scenario of how like they just picked up like nothing ever happened, and it was like they were besties again. um, so rewinding a little bit at the extracurricular tables, Jen is not feeling the head cheerleader and how she's treating the people trying to sign up. So she ironically signs up to audition for the cheerleading squad.
Mhm.
Um,
Now is this head cheerleader like a replacement for what's her face that we hated that
Abby?
died? Abby. There we go. Thank you. I like blocked her from my brain. Is this a new Abby?
I
Is
don't
this
think
like a
so.
new
She
Abby?
might appear maybe one or two
A
more
one
times. She's actually a soap
Yeah.
opera actress. She was from Sunset Beach.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so her name's Belinda. At the auditions, one of the girls actually does the theme song. She does the "I don't wanna wait," but she puts a
I was like,
little
"That's a song!"
yeah,
I was like, "They did the song, so they got some rights, or no, they did the only first like 2 lines, that's free. It's
Right,
like the
right.
first 30
You get
seconds.
5 seconds, you get 5 seconds.
5 seconds is free, and everything else, you have to pay.
So they make fun of her weight and the fact that she's auditioned every year, and they only let her audition this year because they wanted to see what ridiculous cheer she was gonna come up with. So then it's Jen's turn, and she goes up there and she's like, fuck this. She throws the pom poms down, she grabs the mic, and she basically shreds Belinda. Talks about basically how she's going to peak in high school. Flash forward, um, her husband's having an affair with the nanny. Um, the kids are calling the nanny mom instead of her. She's taking Percocets at like 9 a.m., 12 noon, and like 5 p.m.
That's
And she's
makes
like,
sense.
don't let yourself become a cookie cutter, rah, rah, whatever.
Yep,
And
that's
he's like, fuck these
correct.
auditions, I'm done. And she gets a standing ovation. So then
Yes.
I feel like this is just Jen going forward, very like not a joiner, like just very antisocial, Daria esque.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe this is when she turns into like the real her that's always been there the whole time. You know what I mean? The one that's just been cut in all that like proof that she's like, nah, here I am.
It just doesn't match the girl in the flower dress that came out of the cab in the pilot. Like,
That's what I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. That was never the real Jen. Like this is the real Jen that's coming out. Like, that's kind of how I'm choosing to see it. I
okay.
don't know. Maybe it's just writers trying to. Maybe there's something about Jen, that audiences weren't connecting with, and they're like turning her into something different that makes her a little bit more.
Well,
I
so
don't
it
know.
was the triangle.
Powerful.
That's why she was
Yeah,
part of the triangle. I
yeah.
know she's not, and so maybe they're just trying to
Mm.
find out who Jen is on her own.
Give her Yeah, like, give the character a reason, I guess, to be
Yeah,
on screen,
yeah.
and sometimes that means, like, rebelling or being extra sassy or something like that, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, "Oh, they're showing metamorphosis of character. Character growth, she's learning to be more like herself."
So the cheerleaders are like following her and mimicking her style. And Jack thinks it's funny. He's like, what is going
I love
on? And she's
I
like,
love
they open the locker and the pom poms fall out. He's like, you're a cheerleader? She's like, they made me head cheerleader.
They asked Belinda, and they voted me as cheerleader. One of us. This is sometimes I tell Karen, another one of our lovely cast, that this is how she gets a cult. Like when she was back in college, I was like, "This is how you start your cult." Like she just goes in and just starts collecting people, like the weird Charles Manson s attraction. Being her, just being her.
um, so Dawson and Eve go out on Mitch's boat, and she either starts to or does give him a blowjob, and he crashes the boat.
That yeah, that's what I'm
um,
saying. I feel like she's like really just trying to get that going. Like I think she's just trying to put it and quit it. And Dawson's like, oh.
and of course he crashes it into the dock that's Joey's job. So Joey sees him and Eve.
Mhm.
Um, and her boss is like, you know this guy, and Joey's all jealous. So she's like, I thought I did. Like, you don't have a right. You broke up with him. Like,
Yeah, literally. Well, that's kind of like weirdly how like their relationship always seems to go. Like once they're broken up, like when she's pushing him away, and then he tries to move on, they keep like having these situations where, and then she gets jealous, and
uh-huh.
it's like, girl, you want. Nah.
So the bill is gonna be like 3 grand, and Dawson doesn't work. He's like going through the couch looking for money, and he finds like nickels and
Well,
dimes. Like what? Like that's not
yeah,
gonna pay for anything. Eve gathered like some money, like passed like a hat around or whatever, and all the strippers donated a little bit of their tips to this.
That's
So
really
then,
fucking nice.
yeah, so then Pacey decides they're gonna host a party with the strippers working, and that all
Mhm.
the high school boys will. They were really heavy-handed on this. They will come. Teenage boys will come. And I'm just like, all right, we get.
Can we okay, there's a lot of sexual innuendo, not just in this episode, but, like,
In the
I
next
think
one, yeah,
both.
we'll get to that.
Yeah, and I was like, "Is this as close as we were gonna get without the FCC distributing fine, like, for the episode? Like, this is how close we have to get to
I
it?
guess
Like,
in the pilot
hey!"
they couldn't say masturbation, so they said walk your dog.
Yeah, like, well, this one's like, "Yes, all of the teenage boys will come." Wink, 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 wink,
But
yeah,
he said it 3 times. I was like, "Okay, you're getting gross now."
we good. They will have an orgasm.
Um, Dawson's very overwhelmed by everything that's happening, so he goes upstairs to his room, and of course, who's sitting there? Joey. She climbed through her window, got her ladder, climbed through the window, and does that creepy thing she does where she just sits in his room. At least she wasn't sitting in the closet like she used to.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, man, it's crazy. Like,
But
how do
now
you ever feel safe in your room?
well, so Eve got into the house at one point, and they actually said, it's Cape Side, we don't lock our doors. So there's that.
Also, how did she know his address?
Right. Well,
Like, did
right.
he give it to her?
Well, she seems to be stalking him. She's like popping up at
I feel like
school.
she's a vampire. She's a vampire. Like, let's just do a thought experiment. She's a vampire, and she likes to drink the blood of virgins.
So I guess now Joey's feeling competitive, and she
Mhm,
decides it's a new year, new her, new them. They could start over.
mhm,
They're not babies anymore.
mhm,
Let's do it. I'm gonna
mhm.
take my shirt off. Show you my boob. Show you my bra. Probably the most he's ever seen of her, even like when they were together.
Literally. I thought it was a dream. I thought, like, if he was gonna, like, have some hallucination or something. Like, I was like, "Is this real?"
Right. Um, he turns her down because it's not right, which was nice of him.
He's a
I don't know
gentleman.
if you heard her because she kind of mumbled it, but she was like, "Go to hell." And then it became a
I
whole, "I'm not pretty, you don't want me." Like, you turn me down situation.
girl, that's what I was saying, like, this is the type of see, this whole interaction, like, makes me go, "Oh, I hate that," because it's, like, one of those things that kinda, like, make women, like, seem wishy-washy, that,
Mhm.
like, he's, like, doing, quote, unquote, "the right thing." Like, no doesn't always mean no kinda situation, and it's like, it is a little role reversal, like, 'cause he's, like, saying, like, "No, I don't think this is right," but it's just kind of like, it was just so frustrating to watch, 'cause you're like, "Girl, come on, this ain't cool." You can't force someone to do something, you can't get mad at them because they're not ready or don't want to, you know? It's not cool.
So Dawson asked Pacey to keep an eye on her because right now, like, they're kind of like volatile. Like, she's not gonna want to talk to
Mhm,
Dawson or anything. So he's like, "Really?" And he's like, "Fine."
mhm.
So Pacey rows his boat down the creek to Joey, and she's like, "He told you, didn't he?" And he's like, "Yep, everything." And she's like, "I hate you both." And she basically is like, "There's no way you can know what I'm going through." So then he's like, "Oh yeah, no, there's no way I would know about losing the one person that you love." And like he goes into his whole relationship with Andy. He's like, "Why would I know about
I love Pacey. Team Pacey for life.
that?" And she's like, "Oh well, the people that hasn't seen me like this, it had to be you."
I swear, didn't she say that to him before? Like at one point too, she was like really pining over Dawson, and like and I think she said almost the exact same thing. Like it was like the one time that I'm good, like I anybody could see me. continue because they hated each other ish. I feel like it's something they've said before. I could be wrong, but
Maybe.
it felt familiar. It felt
Now that
like
you
they've
say
done
that,
this before.
yeah, because they had a few like nice like one-on-one moments in season one. Like remember when he thought he liked her and he
Yeah,
like tried to kiss her and she was like no.
yeah. Well, well, a part of me is kind of like, what's going on here? Because like it feels like they're like pushing them together in a weird way in proximity, not necessarily like romantically, but like if they're around each other a lot, going through these things together, having these emotional little like, talks.
Uh-huh.
Was that made for the season? Is all I'm saying. Like,
Maybe he's our Brian.
wasn't it
No, Brian Krako's a nerd. He's not a nerd. I don't know.
no, no, Casey is not a nerd. If they try to make sorry, they tried to get Joshua Jackson for some reason to look like a nerd in season one. They did not succeed. Joshua Jackson was too good looking. So it's kind of like he's very like self-aware. He's a self-aware king.
Mhm.
And you gotta love it.
um Meanwhile, Dawson's dad comes home and he's like screaming for Dawson because there's a party going on in his house. So Eve's in her boss's boat and she's like, this is your last chance to get away. Like, hop in the boat and we'll just like drive away. And he's like,
Uh,
no. He's like, I gotta deal with this. Like,
well, like she's like saying, like, you think you're one step away from the rest of your life. And it's like, girl, like chill out.
it's
Like
weird.
she's
So
so
going back to the music rights thing, this last song that played was the real song because I remember watching that and I know that song.
oh, okay,
Yeah, so
that's
it's like
cool.
they'll let some songs slip for some reason and others not.
Well, it's whatever they have rights to. It's really what it comes down to. And I don't
Yeah.
know why they revoke them or if the kind of rights that they got were limited to just that episode that one time,
Yeah.
not in perpetuity. You know what I mean? Which is kind of like what most deals end up being because sometimes they'll be so lucrative or the person just wants that type of notoriety.
Right.
So they let licensing go that long. But who knows?
So yeah, so the episode ends with Pacey basically comforting a crying and devastated Joey. Um, it was cute. He was like, "Who knows? You and I might even become friends." And she's like, "I'm depressed enough as it is."
Hey, like, some of the stuff feels very foreshadowing for like the season because it's the season opener. So you're kind of like, I was kind of watching it a little bit with like eyes to like, what are we looking at here? Like, what are we ultimately
What
gonna
are we
be
setting up?
doing this season?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
like
avenues are we exploring?
yeah. So like the way things kind of played out, especially after the next episode, like I keep thinking to myself, Joey and Pacey are probably going to get close. Maybe on the friendship level in a different way that they've ever been before because Pacey's just so with it.
Yeah. So
Can you not?
that was like a verse.
Yeah.
How are you feeling after watching the first episode? Like,
Oh,
were you like,
just
"Where's
kind of
Andy?" She's in
like
the credits, but I didn't see her.
right. I miss my girl Andy. I like the reference. I'm happy to hear him reference her at the end. That means he's still in love with her, obviously. And then at the same time, like it's just I was thinking too that like Eve is giving like oh my god, why can't I remember her name? Michelle Williams character.
Jen.
Can I remember her name? Jen. Giving Jen 2.0. Like obviously Dawson kind of has a type. He's
Yeah.
into a mysterious blonde
Right.
who has short hair and has like is coming out of nowhere, like some distant land. It all kind of like resonated the same in a way. Like he's infatuated with her because she's like aggressively towards him. And Jill was kind of like that when she first rolled in. She was kind of like, "Hey, Dawson, how's it going, Dawson?"
So
And Dawson was like, "Hey."
I think the reason why Joey went to Dawson's house was after talking to Bessie about the boat accident and that he was with the blonde girl. And I laughed because Betsy was like, I seem to remember when there was another blonde in the picture, and look how that turned out.
Exactly.
So that kind of, I guess, gave Joey the confidence to go over there and like get her man.
Yeah, thank you. See, like that's kind of what solidified. Like I remember hearing that and going, like, yeah, like literally at a type, and it feels like a very similar line of
Mhm.
eventuality. That like she's giving me like I'm just here to just have fun and move on with my life. I'm not here for like relationships. I just do whatever I want, kind of like lady girl. And in reality, like she wants like love and acceptance and just is like everything about it is just she's just so heavily handed. She feels like she's trying really, really hard. Like I don't know if it's the actress or if it's the way they're writing her. It just feels like
It could be a little bit of both because they are. It feels like they're being very heavy-handed with the sexual innuendos and the vibe
mhm.
being different.
Well, yeah, and just her being so like I guess like I said, like a vampire, like she's hunting him. Like she's hunting him and just it's like she needs another notch in the old belt.
She needs the
Like
blood of a
another one.
virgin.
Yes, the collection to add to my collection kind of vibe. And I'm not here for that. Like in a way. Like I don't particularly like it. She's a great little foil to Joey. She's like all the insecurities Joey ever could possibly think of in one person.
Right.
I mean, she's all of my insecurities
She
I could
also
think
looks
of
like
as a person.
she also looks like she's in her 20s. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. Like, all, like heavy makeup, like the fact that like they styled her to the point where she's never wearing anything that covers her belly, like at all. She just walks around in tank tops
Spaghetti strap,
all the
boobs
time.
out.
Kind of like, yes, that was the style, but at the same time, like schools were not that lax about like stuff and the belly chains and everything. It
Right?
was just kind of like she was like an one of those like a
Abercrombie.
dead yeah, like a literal dead catalog model come to life, and it felt very like her she just felt a little artificial in that sense. She doesn't feel like she actually belongs in Cape Side.
Yeah.
Like, she feels like a someone put, like, a Barbie doll character and slapped it in the middle of the world. But I'm gonna hold out till only episode 1. There's lots more to find out about her, so
So episode 2 is
first impression.
titled Homecoming. I guess for the school and for Andy. So
Yeah.
Pacey's like super excited that Andy's getting out of the rehab, we'll call it, that she was in. um,
Mhm.
Jack and Andy's father doesn't think it's a good idea that Jack comes home just yet and that
Mm,
he stay with Mrs. Ryan, Grams, if she'll allow
yeah.
it. And
Mhm.
Jack takes that kind of like personally, and he's like, you don't know how to deal with your gay son, and that's a problem. So since I live here, get out of my house.
Yeah, he did go yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it because it's like, you get it, and then you're kinda like, at the same time, you wanna live with him, though.
Yeah.
Like, do you actually want to live with him? Like, in all respect, like, whatever his reasons are his reasons, but, like, it felt like he was fighting for something he didn't necessarily want, or
Mhm.
he just wanted to be wanted, maybe? And I get that. I get that 110%, you know?
So I guess the dad is finally stepping up and moving back and gonna be involved for once instead of
Yeah.
being living in a separate state. Like,
Yeah, he said he's like, he's gonna move this to this area at least.
yeah.
So,
So baby steps, I
that's
guess.
good. Yeah.
I miss Gail. I know we got to mention to her, but I miss her. We'll see her again though. She'll be back.
Yay.
Um, so the cheerleaders are literally like are wearing like the ripped fishnet that Jen's wearing. Like they're literally like mimicking her, and they're doing like depressing emo cheers because they think that that's the vibe that Jen wants.
Yeah, I mean, it's That's how I would imagine Jen would make a cheer squad be. It's funny to watch
she's
them.
just like rah rah. Okay, I'm done.
Funny to see them in the getup, especially, and how lackluster like they end up doing it, and even in practice, like they look like cheerleaders, like they look like regular cheerleaders. Not they don't look like gothy or like but it's just so funny seeing the visual and the audio are not connecting. Oh, but I love it though. I love this for Jen. I really do. I This is great.
Pacey can't. Pace. So Andy's supposed to come home the next day, but Pacey can't wait. So he and Joey go to like get her out, but they they won't let Pacey in because it's not visiting hours, and she can sign herself out, but because it's not visiting hours, he can't get to her, so she could do that. So
Yeah.
then Joey's like, all right, let's go. And it kind of reminded me when in season 1 when Pacey paid the cop so she could go see her father in jail when it wasn't visiting hours.
A shenanigan.
Yeah,
A
so she like is
basically
like, I need help. And she's like trying to distract the lady, and she's like, if you're not gonna let me in, she's like, then I'm gonna have to talk to you. So she like sits on the desk, she waves Pacey in, he crawls like under where nobody can see her, and the woman
well, she
actually is
kind
interested. She's actually like
she starts to go in like into her love life, so it's very like tea oriented. And this woman is kind of like
well, she
she's
mentioned like my
very
dad's in jail for like crack cocaine, my mother died of cancer.
like when an episode of Jerry Springer starts, and you're like, okay. But like this woman is like, no. The receptionist is like very hard ass, like no, 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 no. But
Her
the
line
minute
delivery
she,
was hilarious though. I was laughing at how she was
you think that I'm here to just like do whatever? She's like, this is a private facility. You don't just walk in. Like I loved it. It was perfect. But the minute she just got the little bit of string of tea, a little tiny sip, and she was in. Like she just literally went, okay, what is happening?
So
I love it.
Pacey makes his way to Andy's room, and she's in there with a boy on her bed. Not in a sexual way. They're just like hanging out and he talking.
Yep.
And the vibe is very tense. You could see Pacey's like, what's going on here? And even once the boy leaves, Joey's just kind of like, what did I walk into? Because it feels tense. were you were you like, no, no? The minute you
They're
saw
shooting across the bow of my ship. That's what they're doing. Literally, like the first scene I get with my ship together after them being torn apart is she's in the room with another guy, and she looks awkward when she sees Pacey. She is not happy to see him. When they hug, she kind of goes, ha, 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 ha. Oh my
I noticed that she
god.
put more arm around Joey than she did Pacey.
Yeah. She was happy. She visibly looked happier to see Joey than Pacey. And I was like, it's like really watching like a crack show up, and you're like, no, 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 no. Let's no bucket. Get the bucket. Put the water out of the ship. You know what I mean? Like it was just why like they only literally going from season 2 into this makes me even more angry because of all the mess. You
Uh-huh.
know, like they literally led me to believe they're going to break my ship up like 3 times right before they left, and
Right.
then they were together when they went out of the season to then have this happen.
Yeah.
The writers, for me personally, I hope everyone knows this.
So they get her all packed up, they're in the car ready to leave, and she's like looking out the window and she's like she's crying. Like she doesn't want to leave her new friend.
Yes. Ah.
So it's the next day at school, and she's like doing everything in her power to not be alone with PC. Like she wants to plan group activities, she wants to catch up on schoolwork, she wants to like go to the pep rally, like
It's like every time something happens, it's like not like it's like the mast falls over, and then the steering wheel comes off, and another one puts the whole front end of the ship clean off, and I'm like, guys, why
um
are you doing this to me?
Mitch Mitch is a teacher. I think that started at the end of last year because he was dating that other teacher, the film teacher
Yeah,
that we didn't like,
yeah. Mhm.
from Riverdale. Um,
Mhm.
but now he's also coaching football, and apparently their team sucks. But there's this freshman that wants to be on the team so bad he's like, "Put me in, coach," and Mitch is like not having it.
Come here, coach. Just give
And
me a
it's so
chance.
bad that the ball keeps going off the field, and Jack keeps like while he's having a casual conversation with Jen, catching the ball and throwing it back.
I thought that was hysterical. Me and Chris were watching it, and I was like, "Well, obviously Jack is going to be joining the football team." Like
Yeah,
when he caught the third football, I was like, "Well, he's definitely going to somehow end up on the football team." Like, how many times is he gonna? It's like literally the ball just goes whoop, right? Like he's just talking and whoop, whoop,
and then when they
whoop.
put him in for the practice to help out, and he was like catching like, and then I was like, why isn't he wearing any football gear? Like he's gonna get hurt.
I thought he's wearing a sweater and khakis, and I was just like, "This rocking everyone in a sweater and khakis right
Right.
now." That's hilarious. And he's just kind of like, "Oh, no big deal." Boop, boop.
So I guess because they did so good, this freshman ends up getting on the team. What is his name? I know his name because I really
Chris
like.
thought he looked like Devin Sawa, and I was like, "No, it's not."
Yes,
And we
that
even
was a
looked it
big
up. It's
thing
not
that he was like a Devon Sawa look, not Devon.
literally. Well, I'll tell Chris that it was a big thing because he's like, "That looks
No,
like Devin Sawa," and I was like, "No, it's not."
it wasn't that Leo. It was a Leonardo DiCaprio thing, but I could see that.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
What was his name? Andy? No,
No,
he's
I thought it
mad.
was Sam
Tim.
maybe. No.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Henry. Henry.
Sorry, Henry. Because
Henry.
I none of the episodes will I remember his name. Mhm.
So at the pep rally, they're announcing the players of the football team. Jack has made the team. Henry has made the team, but he's a little clumsy and he falls in front of Jen and he's like awestruck by Jen, like totally crushing on Jen.
Oh, yeah. Oh, now she's got a puppy.
Yeah, because they're juniors now. Season 1 and 2 was
Yeah,
10th grade. Now they're juniors.
that's right. So she's an
um,
upperclassman. Love
yeah.
it.
So Andy's like, Jack's on the football team and Jen's a cheerleader. She's like, so I got better and everybody else went crazy.
Yeah, basically. Correct.
So this is when Pacey says to Andy like they need to talk alone, and he like pulls her out, and she's like, all right, you want to hear it? She's like, you can't interrupt me, which he did. And
You
he
know,
jumped real quick to you slept with him. I was like, wait, what? She wasn't what?
I she didn't say it,
She
right?
didn't.
She
She
didn't say
didn't
it.
say it. He said it, but then she confirmed it.
She didn't
She
say no. Well, she didn't say, "No, I didn't."
didn't say
Like,
no.
at no point did she say, "I didn't sleep with him." It was like a situation where
She
she's, like,
she
slowly
literally was like, we
confessing.
regretted it immediately. So that kind of confirmed that it happened. So
Right, right,
yeah.
right. But, like, the lead up to it was literally her talking about their relationship
Yeah.
and then saying that, like, he understood her on a level that she never, like, thought, like, that nobody else could because he was doing this in the same situation. And
Mhm.
he goes, "You slept with him."
Right.
Like, just like as if she said that she did, and he, like, was exclaiming it back to her. So that really threw me for a second there, and I was, "Wait, did I completely miss her confessing this?"
Right.
No, it's because he just made the inference because he's so incredibly, like, intuitive
Right.
that, like, that's what happened. And then the next statement was, like, immediately we knew it was wrong as soon as we did it. And it's like, that doesn't stop anything from feeling bad.
We were
Like, just because you felt bad does not make me feel better. Like,
I don't know if you watched Friends, but the whole we were on a break.
yeah, we are. It's like, no, like, it doesn't make it better. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it doesn't feel good about moving forward with you. Like, there's nothing that could. that whole scene shattered me. Like, I just kind of thought, like, after all they've been through, that there was nothing that could tear them asunder. Because it's like, why? How could it? Like, he was there for her during some of her most darkest moments, and she confessed probably the most intimate things about like what's going on in her life to him, and this is what happens. And like his speech later on too really just solidified a lot of stuff for me. And I was like, I was heartbroken. I was, oh man, I felt for Pacey's dad because he's also someone who doesn't need something like that to happen to him. He already doesn't have faith in humanity. She
Right.
was his last, like literally his last hope of like what humanity can offer in the sense of goodness because he's been literally abused his whole life, his father. So why
Right.
would he think that anything was going to help him? It was just,
Um,
oh,
was it
horrible.
was it Joey that convinced him to go talk to her after like and
Yes.
listen? Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's sitting by the water. I think that's their spot because I think that's where they danced for the first time or kissed.
Mhm.
So she's just sitting there and they talk some more. And this felt very much like when Mitch was in the car in season one and Gail got in and he was like, I chose to love you and right now I choose to hate you. Like it felt like the same vibe. Like even
Yeah.
how like Pacey was talking. Pacey was just
Yeah.
like, we had a nice thing. Um, clearly I'm not like the person like you were my person, but clearly I'm not your person. So like I'm done. Like he was just done. I was like, it seemed very cold for everything they went through last season.
He made, yeah, I know. And I hear you, but at the same time, like complete like she shattered every amount of trust he had in their relationship.
Yeah,
Like
I get
there was like the way he said what he said, he's like, I can forgive you, but I can't forget what happened. Like it
right,
sometimes there's things that are just irrevocably broken when someone like is unfaithful.
right,
So it's like regardless of the context, regardless of all that stuff, like it's just that meaningful to him. And because he held her to such a high standard, that's the issue. Is that he put her on this insane pedestal. And
right.
that is kind of all how the relationship was from the very beginning. That's where I would say Pacey probably went like probably shouldn't have been so he put too much pressure on the relationship and Andy as a person. And
Right.
she wants to live up to that potential all the time. So in a part of me thinks that maybe that would catalyst to her potential mental break in some way because like she wants to be the perfect girlfriend. She wants to be a perfect sister. She needs to be this. She needs to be that. And it's kind of like, and he still puts a lot of pressure on because he loves her so much. He just loves her so much. And her doing this is like bringing him back to ground by slamming his face into the concrete.
Yeah.
That's like, and I get the coldness. It's also I get Mitch's coldness. It makes total sense. Like it's, but eventually, like coming around, like what Joey said to him was so true. Like you guys are 16 years old. Like you're really holding us to at a level of standard that is like I understand how emotional this is, but like holding them people high up to that high of a standard is kind of like a folly.
Yeah. It's like if that's how you're gonna go through life, you're gonna be really disappointed.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And it's the same with Dawson, like put Joey up on this crazy pedestal and how he like perceived relationships to be or people to be in his life. Like it was very like you're doing too much. Like meet people where they are and know where they are instead of like the fantasy for which you believe them to be.
So, Dawson awkwardly goes shopping for condoms.
That was the best scene ever.
At first, he thought he had to ask for them because he thought they were behind the counter, and he kept whispering, and the guy's like, "I can't hear you. Speak up, son." And like literally, the woman behind him looked like she was like leaning over his shoulder, and he was like,
See
"Oh,
the way
condoms? We don't keep them behind here. They're in aisle 3."
that they did this perfect back and forth where he goes, "Oh yeah, like I'll take this gum and I will have this here. Oh, look at that, a lighter. Great. And I'll take
Condoms.
like like what?" And he's like, "Yeah, I will." And they're like, hello? What was that? You have to speak up. and I think the guy was torturing him at this point because, like, a
Uh-huh.
part of me kind of he heard him say condoms, and he was like, "No, I'm gonna get this condom." And then he goes, "Condoms?" And he's like, "Oh, you don't have them." Aisle 6 for the condoms. And the woman behind him was she was doing the best face acting ever. She was just like, this guy, I swear to God, just say condoms. You know you're getting condoms. Who cares? Get the condom. Like the epic eye rolls. I was literally laughing my ass off on this scene. It was perfect. It was perfect.
So now he's by the condoms, and there's so many options. He doesn't know. It's his first time. What does he know? So some random guy's like, there's so many. He's like, there's rib for your pleasure, there's rib for her pleasure, there's glow in the dark, and then another guy's like, the glow in the dark ones don't work. You got to put up to the light.
Who's got time for that? And I was like, this is such a great
And then like
again, like
the
one.
three adults literally go around him and grab different like guns, and he's just like, what?
Well, I love the woman. She comes up behind me and goes like, "Oh man, if you wanna get something going, you get the Brown Betty." I think she
Yeah,
said, "You really wanna rock her world, get the Brown Betty." And then the two guys go and grab the same box, which you're assuming is the Brown Betty.
yeah.
So and then they leave him. It was so funny. I literally just was dying. I'm like, this is probably the best comedic scene so far of like the series. It was so funny. So good.
And
Because they're
then
legit trying to help him. Like they're like, hey man, well, like this, and this. And it's like stuff he should know.
And then Jen is talking to Dawson while he's like unpacking the car of groceries, and she sees the box of condoms, and she's like, "Do we have to have the talk?"
Oh my
And
god.
she's
And
like,
again, this
it's this whole like
oh,
sexual innuendo because she's like, "Are you too? Do you?" She's like, "Guys are usually too fast or too slow. Which one do you think you are?" And he's like, "I don't know." So then she gives this whole ice cream scenario. She's like, it's the hottest day of the year. She's like, you have an ice cream sundae. She's like, do you lick it or do you just like dive in because you want to eat it before it melts? And he's like, dive in.
mm.
She's like, too fast. So
The whole thing, I just kept thinking, I'm like, wow, they're really going as far as they can to describe oral as they
she's like,
can
she's like, you just have
without
to lick the ice cream, enjoy the ice cream.
it
And then she
is
ends it
when
with,
you
if you if you don't end it with whipped cream on your face, you're not doing it right.
and then I kept thinking to myself like, wow, girl, okay.
And just the smirk on her face when she delivered the line.
I bet you Michelle was like, this is the best speech I'm ever gonna give in my entire career. I'm going for it. It's like the best. Oh man, I was really like, no, are they really doing this?
Yeah,
I
that's what I
cannot.
mean. It feels very vulgar. And
Well, it
they've
just
been vulgar before, but it feels different. It feels more, I don't know, in my face for some reason.
it's too heavy-handed. That's what I'm saying. Like it's got to be the writing. So it's really like overall feels like they're just saying like, oh well, we know you're older teens now, and older teens talk about sex, and then we want to talk about sex with you. So we're just gonna be like sex, 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 because it's all kids talking about right now, right?
Yeah.
Right, kids? And you're like, not all the time. I like Pokemon too. Like, you it's just one of those things that you're like, dang, like we get it. They're teens and they're sexy and hot and they have sex. Cool. Like we don't need to talk about it this extensively. But I do appreciate Jen giving him heads up. I thought she was just gonna be like, foreplay.
Right.
Foreplay is all you need to know.
Right.
Make sure you get the engine revved up before you go. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's it. But she had to go for the whole Sunday thing, and I was like, this is so it's doing too much. Too much.
So Dawson was put in charge of putting together some kind of sizzle reel for the football team for the pep rally. And it's playing at the pep rally, and Eve approaches him behind the scenes, the screen. And this is it. This is the moment they're gonna do it. He's got his shirt ripped open. She's got her shirt ripped open. She's got him pushed up against a button that keeps raising and lowering the screen for the sizzle reel. And he like hears a noise and he's like, "What's that?" And she's like, "Nothing." And then the screen goes up, and the whole school sees them in the middle of what they're about to do, including Joey.
Mhm. And they have
And he
like
gets a
this
standing ovation.
insane. Well, everybody was. Well, the pep rally leading up to this was not going well.
Right.
Like, so everyone was not pepped, quote unquote. Like the
Yeah.
whole pep rally performance by the cheerleaders was very lackluster. That was pretty funny. And then like
They bow.
everybody was.
And then
I
he like
felt that
even
was.
was like he like focused on her and she did a vow.
Yeah, it was just absolutely insane. Like I just kind of kept thinking to myself, like, again, like, was it necessary for her to try to have sex with him right then and there on the stage, like right behind the screen? Probably not. Like it wasn't. I guess it was all plot device, you know. So like Joey sees them in some crazy way,
Right.
and yeah, like, but also the excessive cheering. Like, come on, I remember like, what are you
So
doing?
Jack's father came to this because I guess the principal or Mitch called to tell him that he was on the football team. And he asked Jack to move in, and Jack is like, "You only want me to move back because I'm on the football team." And
Mhm.
he says something about he's like, "If that's not he's basically like things need to stay the way they are for now." And then as his
Yeah.
dad walks away, he says, "Ask me again sometime." So
That's what I'm saying, like, I think it's he wants to be accepted naturally as much as anyone would, but it's
mhm,
kinda like asking to it like, everything happens in its own pace and time, so, like, I feel like he's trying to get more from his dad that his dad's ready to give, which is still messed up, don't get me wrong, like, it's his kid, you would think that, like, just being his kid is the only qualifier. That's it.
yeah,
I love you unconditionally, the end. But that's not the case. So, like, I feel like he was pushing for something he didn't necessarily really want to begin with. Like, he wanted probably to stay where he was and he would be perfectly happy. But, you know, the
yeah,
acceptance. And also, like, it feels like, again, one of those like moments where it's just like, was it necessary for him to be there? You know, I thought we kind of like wrapped that up a little. Like, did we need to see him like kind of reconcile? Like, was it a
yeah,
little extra? I don't
yeah.
know. It was kinda like here and there.
Um, so Joey ends up at Dawson sitting at the edge of his dock. um, he goes over, they actually have a nice conversation and they kind of make up in a friend like not in a romantic way, in a friendly way. She admits that
Yeah,
over the summer she would some days just row her boat past the house out of habit.
it
uh,
was like the house calls to her, and I
yeah.
was like, "Oh."
um, I feel like I blinked and missed something. Where did this necklace come from that he put on her? Did it mean anything? Like, what was that?
Well, I thought that was the one he always, like, wore, like, back in s I remember him always wearing, like, this cord necklace that had something on it.
Oh,
And I think it was like a ring. So I don't know why it has any significance to their relationship other than it was his and now he gave it to her.
okay.
Like, I don't know what he was supposed to really symbolize other than, like, just what they said that they're gonna remain friends. That, like, no matter what happens between them, they will always kind of still be in each other's lives. Is
Yeah,
kind of what it's like. That, like, they weren't trying to necessarily define their relationship because, like, they seem to ebb and flow between the 2 things, friendship and in love with each other.
yeah.
But
Because
I
she
don't
says,
know.
"Do you think every Dawson has a Joey and every Joey has a Dawson?" And he was like, "I hope
Right.
so." And that
That's
was
what
kind of
I'm
how
saying. Like,
that ended.
yeah, they also said, like, it's kinda like you still love the person, but you don't need them as much as you did before, and it's like, they thought that was kinda weird, and it's like, yeah, well, it happens, like, you know, especially that's what makes relationships kinda complicated because like, you be with someone for a really long time and maybe not necessarily have, like, the same, like, romantic feelings, but you still love them because they're still been a huge part of your life. It's
Right.
like the difference between friendship and love, romantic love, and family love, familial love, and friendship, and some can be both at the same time, some can be only one. So like they seem to ebb and flow between the two things a lot of the time, and I'm anticipating there to be a lot of ups and downs on the roller coaster of Dawson and Joey's relationship.
Yeah,
I don't believe
we got 4
it ends.
seasons, so
Oh yeah, I know. That's what I mean. So all this is kind of like, yeah, sure, you broke it up. We'll see you again later at the end of the season.
sure we'll see the
Thanks.
scenario 20 more times.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And like the way they're playing with Eve and stuff like that, it makes me crazy. And now that Andy and this is kind of what leads into my theory, weirdly enough, that they're going to try to put Joey and Pacey together because now they broke up Andy and Pacey for real reals.
Mhm.
And we got Joey who is doing her own thing. And then if they spend more time together, it will solidify my theory a little bit more. But as of right now, I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'd rather that like her legitimately find someone. I don't want it to be this boss guy. Hope it's not this boss guy because he's a jerk off.
Uh, yeah, I forgot about him.
Yeah. Well, he like walks in on her and stuff, and
Yeah,
like gives her a hard
he's
time.
kinda
That like
he's problematic.
I'm gonna I'm gonna pick on the girl I potentially find attractive because I need her to feel lower than me kind of approach. So it's just like I don't want that to be a thing.
Yeah. Um, I feel like Andy is suffering from this syndrome that I've seen on a lot of TV shows where, like, you'll have this recurring character that's, like, a fan favorite, but
Mhm.
they're not, like, an official cast member, and it's like they make them a cast member, and then they don't know how to write for them all of a sudden. It's like,
Yeah,
"What?" It's like they made the opening credits,
and
and now you ruined everything.
we could have just enjoyed them together for an extended period of time and then have something happen then. That would have been fine. No, you have to quite literally rip them apart from each other. What so is this just gonna be like what moves on? What happens? Like and also Andy's in an incredibly like sensitive space. So it's kind of like she's just coming out of like, the facility and it's like what happens with her friendships? Like does she still get to hang out with everyone?
Right,
Like that stuff happens in school. People break off from friend groups because it's too awkward or whatever.
right.
And like when you're taking someone who's like suffers from severe anxiety and puts them in a situation where they have to figure out what they're going to do about their friend group or whether they have friends or not.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, I would hate that for her.
Right.
It's like this, they're portraying them. Why? Let them be happy them together. Don't hurt them. I just want to see them happy episodes of them frolicking in a field somewhere and
Frolic.
being happy. That's all I want. That's all I want. I know it's boring, but it's what I want. They're being to my ship. They destroyed my ship. It's
Aw.
a literal piece of ocean. It's not.
Um, well, anything else to add before we wrap this up?
Well, I hope Eve mellows out. I hope we find out something a little bit more about her that's a little bit more substantive than like this sex pot that they're quite literally trying to shove down our throats with her
Right.
personality.
Uh,
Um, I don't know. I mean, it feels like the push and pull between Dawson and Joey it will be forever ongoing. So that'll be something I'm sure we'll look forward to. And I can't like I was riding a pretty good high on the first episode, and then they crushed me, and I feel sad. They took away my ship. And I knew it was gonna happen, but I didn't expect it to happen literally episode 2 of season 3.
I mean, you thought it was gonna happen all of season 2.
I
You
know!
were, like, walking on eggshells every episode. You're like, "I don't wanna watch anymore. They're happy now."
So I thought they were safe. I was like, why would they make them go through half of a season of utter turmoil just to what? At the end of the beginning of the next season, I thought I had some episodes before they would start breaking them up.
Right.
But it's just kind of like, dang, and it feels like a personal vendetta. Like it's somehow they went through space and time and knew that I was going to be watching this show and fall in love with Andy and Pacey, and then they're like, ha 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 ha, ha.
Well, this all
We
goes
must
back
break them up.
to new showrunner. If it had been Kevin Williamson still, who knows? Maybe they would still be together.
Yeah, Well, then if I was a person who watched this show in real time, I would have wrote a very strongly worded letter to the network saying this
Email was
is it.
around. You could have
Let's
emailed.
yeah. Oh, okay. Email at AOL.com and
No, at
and
hotmail.com.
Hotmail, Hotmail. No, I used literally AOL until AOL would no longer let me use it. And
I
I did have a Gmail, but AOL was my spam inbox.
I only had AOL whenever we got those CDs in the mail. And then when you would
Oh, I
cancel,
hate
sometimes they would give you like another month free.
yeah, yeah. That's
So I was
classic. I love it.
constantly like having new usernames for AIM.
Yeah. Like, oh, it's Tommy's new username. Oh, let's turn over. Yeah, man. So like yeah, it's just I would have been distraught, just like how I am now. I thought they acted it really well. I just feel for I'm worried about Andy now. Like I think Pacey will be fine in a way because he's been through heartbreak before. So like I just hope he doesn't go spiraling. But I'm really worried for Andy now because she's in a very, very tough place.
Well, I'm not going to say anything because obviously I know what
Of course
happens.
not. You're the devil who makes me care about these characters and watches me as I watch this sail into the sunset. And then he goes, ha 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 ha. She doesn't know yet, but they're going to torpedo her precious little ship just a little while. Hee hee hee.
Just like I planned.
Like I planned.
To make her fall in
I
love
found
and crush her.
he didn't. He didn't. She was living her life perfectly peacefully without watching Dawson's Creek, and then I brought her in. Ha ha ha.
You're making me have to be like a Doctor Who villain.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, correct. You got it.
All right. Well, thank you for
Fortunately.
joining us as we return back to Cape Side for Dawson's Creek season 3. As always, you can find us on all the socials at Queers and Soaps. And until next time, have a great night. Bye.